Today on the Region Free Gamers podcast, the Eurobeat intensifies cause we are running in the 90s. Hello everyone, welcome to the Region Free Gamers podcast, the podcast fluent in gaming. My name is Paul Romallo, and with me today, having left the green fields and rainbows of the Bronx for the grit and grime of Connecticut, Mr. Anthony Arriaga.
Briex! Although I feel like a fraud for saying that. I can't say Connecticut. I can't really do it yet.
It doesn't work.
Give me time.
How long did you live in the Bronx?
How old am I?
Okay. So I think we can evergreen that. I don't know. Like, what do you?
Yeah,
like?
I think I can I can definitely grandfather that in. It's fine. It's weird because it's getting used to all these different. I got allergies now. You know, I never had allergies before, but now I have allergies. I guess nature causes me to have allergies, but before, you know, concrete, weed, and crackheads were fine. You know, I was immune to them. You know, I come out here, I see a rabbit, I'm like scratching myself, you know, so, you know.
Dude, you see rabbits?
I see bunnies. I like saying bunnies. Bunnies sound so much cuter, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
I've seen a bunny. I've seen a raccoon, which I've never seen raccoons in the Bronx. You see rats, the size of raccoons, but you never see an actual raccoon.
Oh, wow, dude. In Toronto, we had nothing but raccoons. Like, there were raccoons everywhere. And in the fall, they get fat. They look like obese squirrels. Yeah, it's just...
Initially, I saw a raccoon running in the backyard, and I thought, oh, fuck, that's a rat. I know a rat when I see one. That's much as my initial impulse to say that's a rat. But no, it was a raccoon. And apparently, you know, saying it's a raccoon, it makes me feel a lot better about life, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But I did come out...
Raccoons are actually kind of cool.
Yeah. But I did come out one day I get to walk my dog without a leash now, which is crazy. You know, he's loving it. We built a bond. I think we built a bond. The only thing is he's so damn small. He's like 5 pounds. So I got to constantly look up in the sky, you know, like something swooping down to pick this dude up. But he's safe for now.
That's a thing up here, man. Yeah. Because let me tell you, up here, we have bald eagles and hawks all over the place. Yeah. Like, all over the place. Any particular day I'm walking around, I'll see one. Actually really cool. And yeah, they have been known to take small pets. Like, you gotta keep an eye on it.
I gotta keep an eye on this guy. But like, we went out one morning I went to go walk him, and there was like 5 deer just outside. Just hanging out, just looking at me. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what's up, guys? I'm new here. I'm Anthony. Nice to meet you.
Man, that's pretty awesome.
No, it's so nice though, man. It's a different world, man. I'm like, man, I sold out. I wish I would have sold out sooner, man.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, and our other guest today, Patron from day one, or I don't know actually if it was day one, but it was like somewhere close to there, out of somewhere in England. I never actually asked you, Jay, but it's Jay, and I'm gonna mess up your last name because I can't remember how you said it. Berrones?
Close enough. We'll go with that. It's a bit of a funny one, Berrones, but you were close to it, so.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I would have said Berrones if you hadn't told me that it was Spanish, because that's how I would have pronounced it if I'm saying it like in Portuguese. But because you said Spanish, I should have just left it to Anthony, honestly.
I feel weird when I'm having a conversation in English and then I gotta like say something with a Spanish like tone to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I get in conversations and like even my last name, it's like Arriaga, but it's really Arriaga, you know? But I can't just be like, yo, my man, take down my name. It's Anthony Arriaga. I can't, you know, I just can't just throw it out like that.
You sound so pretentious, man.
Yeah,
like I worked with a girl once whose name, and I feel for her, right? Because like she has an Italian last name, Gagliardi, right? But if you read it phonetically in English, it's Gagliardi, right? So I mean, on one hand, I kind of feel for her, But on the other hand, she's throwing around Gagliardi like candy, and I'm like, you're not that important, man. Put it away.
Me and Hannah were hanging out with this couple one time, and she's Irish. Her husband was Italian, right? She's 100% Irish. She was just talking about, I gotta go home tomorrow, make dinner for everybody. I'm making some mozzarella, and then she just said it like that. Like me and Hannah looked at each other. My man, we have not hung out with them since. We were like, no, they're cut off. I know,
dude. What can you do?
I can't hang out with you. I can't fucking hang out with you like mozzarella. You're gonna be like, yo, man, I just had this pizza. It was so good, but you know what the best part was? The fucking mozzarella. No, I can't. You're like, I can't.
You haven't earned it.
I can't.
You didn't live in Italy.
You can't just nah.
Man, I remember once my wife and I, so there's this hot springs. It's actually really, really cool and really remote. It's in northern British Columbia, the Liard Hot Springs. And we went to the hot springs one day. It was, you know what? There's like a boardwalk to the hot springs. It's like a 5-10 minute walk. And as we were walking to the hot springs, Christy's mom was with us, and they were just visiting from Toronto. And we're walking there, and to our right, there's mama moose and baby moose just like walking through a meadow. And Christy's mom is like, where the hell do you guys live? This is ridiculous. Like, it was like the most serene looking thing. And then once we got to the hot springs, we started, because there's a lot of people, not a lot of people, usually like anywhere between 5 and 30 people at any one time. And it's pretty big, so it's not, cramped or anything. But we struck up a conversation with this one lady. I don't know, I'm going to say she's in her 50s. And she was talking about how she used to live in Alaska and she moved to Mexico. And she moved to Guadalajara. And every time she said Guadalajara, like, it was just this extreme Spanish emphasis, and it was so off-putting because she had like this American accent. So she's like, yeah, we used to live in Alaska and then we moved to Guadalajara.
I know.
She just kept saying it over and over. I'm like, oh my God, please put that sword back in the sheath. You're hurting yourself.
Even I have to de-Hispanicize myself when I'm talking about things, like I don't even want to just be like, throwing stuff out there. I even have to like, just kind of like, just who am I talking to? Okay. Let me not be that Hispanic guy,
See, but the thing is, I've got the opposite problem. I remember when I was a bit younger, I must have been like, I don't know, maybe about a 15-20 minute rant with my friends, because in Portugal what you tend to have is, let's say for like movie titles, that they kind of adapt the original title in English to Portuguese, but it's kind of like almost like 50-50. An example, like in the Portuguese dialect, Titanic, you'd say Titanic. It's the like for like translation. Right. But they wouldn't say Titanic or Titanic. They would say the movie Titanic. Titanic ain't shit. That's not a word.
What the hell does that even mean?
And I had this problem all the time. So it's like, either you fully commit and you stick to the original language, or don't try to appropriate it and make it sound like it's yours. Because that happens all the time. So at least that woman was trying to, I don't know, maybe say it right.
How dare you defend her? How dare you come on this show?
There's one word that I say, and I can't even help it. It's not even like I'm ever trying, but it's whenever me and Hannah go out, or I should say Hannah and I need to correct myself a little bit here.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah, I hope she's listening. She's not. Sangria. I can't ever say sangria. I just, it's never come out naturally. If I say sangria, it sounds doesn't sound naturally to me, but I've always just like initially just been like, yeah, can I get a glass of sangria? Like that. So I don't know.
I think you have a grace at 3 syllables. Once you start getting more complex, then it becomes a bit obnoxious. I'll give you sangria.
Okay.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I'm not forcing it. I feel like I force it more when I say sangria. It just,
yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Man, English pronunciations of foreign words really just sounds like butchery, doesn't it?
This is why every other language. This is why people in America always think of every other language as a romantic language, because they butchered it so well that anything sounds just romantic, man. A German woman yelling at her baby sounds way more romantic than, me just asking you how your day is.
Are you sure about that? German yelling at a baby? I don't know, man. That might sound...
Well, that, usually when they're yelling at a baby, they're really... We're hearing yelling. They're just being like, I love you so much, baby. You are my favorite thing in the world.
My wife is German, so one of the first few things I've learned how to say in German when we started dating was I love you.
Uh-huh.
But, man, even that one, it's just... You try to put like a soft tone to it, but it sounds like a very harsh language.
What does it sound like? This is funny because we didn't even discuss this beforehand, so I had no idea.
Yeah.
This is great.
Jay, tell me you love me.
Tell us you love us. Tell me you love me. Tell me you love me.
Paul, Anthony, ich liebe dich.
Oh, fuck you, man. Shit. How dare you?
I think it's just one of them that it's just right. So that was me trying to find something nice, romantic to say, but that wasn't the first thing I tried to learn.
Yeah.
When you're learning a new language, it's always going to be rude crap. I mean,
of course it is.
It is
it's the best part.
So it is. And I remember we went to it was the first kind of like date, but it wasn't date because we were working together, so it was like a group of us at work. And we went to watch...
so it was a date, but you were trying to hide it.
No, it just happened on the same date. It's just like it wasn't planned. But we went to the pictures and we were watching Iron Man 3. And I'd been practicing this for a while without her knowing. So I just leaned over to her. And I said to her, if my memory doesn't fail me, I just said to her, like in a very gentle tone, soft tone, "Kuss my Schwein," which is kiss my dick.
Oh, that's right. That's what I thought it meant. Oh, shit. Yes. Yes. I was like, yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things. When I try to learn a dialect, it's what's easier to remember. You tackle the romantic stuff, the very deep emotional stuff.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt you. Nobody cares about the dialect anymore. What happened?
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
My wife has got a very twisted, dark sense of humor.
She slapped you, right? Like, that's the only appropriate response.
Oh, she just burst out laughing.
Oh,
okay, good.
Burst out laughing. But
good.
It's like, right, okay. With Kat, when I said that when we were watching Iron Man 3, she just laughed. She was a bit surprised she laughed. But she has also a dark, twisted sense of humor, so she found it funny. I mean, we're still married, so it worked.
It worked out, yeah.
I'm sure you know your audience, so...
Yeah.
All right, so Jay, you're doing good today? You're doing well?
Yeah, I am a bit jealous because obviously what you were saying, what Anthony was saying about very nice animals and surroundings. Where I live, I just get sheep. Not quite the same. Doesn't sound that exotic.
I don't know about that, man. When my wife and I went to England, we did a lot of walking, a lot of hiking, and we saw a lot of sheep. And the sheep were delightful because regardless of what the animal is, if there aren't a lot of them where you live, then it's like, oh my god,
yeah,
this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So don't take your sheep for granted. But anyway, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I'm gonna need you to just kind of grab and hold on to that feeling, because there's gonna be a point in the show where it becomes clear where we just don't know what we're doing, and you'll wonder what you got yourself into.
It's not a problem. I'm in for the ride.
Okay. All right, man. Well, it's great to have you. Actually, the whole Patreon experiment has really opened our eyes to who exactly is out there listening to us. And it's been really great getting to know you all. And it's been just as great having as many listeners as we do. So a big thanks to all of you listening to the show. If you'd like to give the show a hand outside of Patreon, please subscribe and leave us a review on your platform of choice. 5 stars, please. So today is another one of our sort of more relaxed shows where we talk about what we've been playing. And, now that I think about it, we actually really need a new name for these episodes other than What Have We Been Playing? Because, I don't know, man, that's like the butter of titles, and I want jam. I want something delicious, but all we have right now is just What Have You Been Playing? So yeah, if you're on our Discord, feel free to make some suggestions. I would ask suggestions from Anthony right now, but once we go down that road, that's going to be another half an hour of nonsense.
It's darkness.
And I think as a change of pace, usually when I host these, I go last because I'm polite. But I think today I'm going to go first, if that's okay with you guys.
Yep,
Hey,
sure thing.
I'm outvoted by the Portuguese posse over here, so you guys move along.
The pork posse.
Yes.
Well, all right. So first game that I've been playing, I've actually been wanting to talk about this one because it's actually relatively new. We tend to talk about older games on the show because we just kind of play whatever we want, and often that involves something from the thousands of retro games on our shelves. So newer game that I've played is Loop Hero, which was released on Steam sometime in March, like mid-March. I don't remember the exact date. It's not terribly important. We'll just say March and be done with it. And really, really interesting game. I haven't played anything like it. A buddy of mine recommended it to me after playing the demo. He's like, yo, you like roguelikes, you're gonna really enjoy Loop Hero. And he was mostly correct. Have you guys heard of Loop Hero, first of all?
Not familiar with it at all.
Yeah, I hadn't until you told me about it, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it because it just sounds such an interesting story and everything, man.
It's bizarre. So it was developed by Four Quarters, which is a team of 4 Russian dudes who just kind of they all live in different locations in Russia and they work remotely, which actually, I'm not a Russian, but it sounds very Russian. They work remotely. I have this picture of like guys in their toques huddled in their huts in Siberia, furiously coding a new game. So yeah, it's made by Four Quarters. They actually developed it. They started developing it in October 2019 during a Ludum Dare game jam. And I'm not even going to ask you guys if you know what that is. I just assume you don't. And you're both shaking your heads like,
no,
yeah, I know.
I mean, I know it's a competition or something, but I don't really...
Well, basically, like, it's just a coding competition of sorts. They give you 48 hours, and they give you a concept as voted on by the audience, and you make a game, right? Teams of, I think, 1 or 2 people, 2 people max, and you basically code a game in 48 hours. And so these guys had this kind of concept in mind already, and it fit the theme of the game jam. Anthony's shaking his head. I know, dude, like, I cannot conceive of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds so Russian. Just a competition. Like, I don't even know what happens to the losers. I don't even want to ask, but like this, yeah, man, it's crazy. Like what they did with just that amount of time is insane, man.
Oh man, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. But yeah, they developed it. They actually didn't finish it in the 48 hours. They kind of like, if you see the actual finished concept and they have all the source files there, it looks a lot like the finished product. They really had like an idea of where they were going. The game just actually didn't work. So whatever, they liked the concept. They worked on it for a little while. They released the demo in December of last year. The demo went over really well. And they got Devolver Digital to publish it. Devolver, you guys, I'm sure have heard of Devolver. Like, they're responsible for tons and tons of indie titles. We can't even do an episode on Devolver because, like, there's just so many. Like, Katana Zero, Broforce, and everybody's favorite pigeon dating simulator, Hatoful Boyfriend. I love Hatoful Boyfriend. I really don't, actually, but like, just the concept of it makes me very happy. But so released March 2021. I'm not going to say it's unfinished. It's definitely a finished product, but there are some quality of life improvements that they're going to release via a patch that's going to make it a lot more playable. But anyway, so basically the point of the game is that you have like this 4x4 randomly generated map grid. The randomly generated part is just a road, and your hero just walks along the road in a loop over and over. As he walks along the loop, time passes, and every morning, new monsters spawn. The hero fights the monsters. He gets weapons, loot, right? And cards. The cards are tiles that you place on the map. and they give you various bonuses and powers and stuff like that. So if I get, for example, a Grove card, I put the Grove on the road, and then every morning a wolf spawns on the Grove. Now, why would I put a tile on the road that spawns more monsters? That just makes it more difficult, right? Well, the point of the game is that you place tiles on the road and around the road. They create more monsters, so you have to make the game just hard enough that you get a lot of loot and make your hero stronger and he gets XP, but not so many monsters that the hero is overwhelmed early. You do this because eventually you do have to fight a boss. So by the time you fight the boss, which is usually around anywhere between the 8th and 12th loop, depending on how many tiles you put down, you have to be strong enough to beat the boss, right? So it's a very interesting kind of balance between making sure your hero survives, but also making the game hard enough so that the hero is strong enough to beat the boss. You also have like combinations of tiles. So if I put down, let's say, a village tile on the road, the hero gets healed when he goes through a village. And if I have a wheat field, I put the wheat field next to the village, then the wheat field turns into something else. And if I put a vampire mansion tile next to the village, then the village becomes like a deserted village. So they give you different bonuses depending on the combinations, and the point of the game is to kind of find out like what kind of combinations are good and where you want to place them, and be a bit strategic in that regard. You might be thinking it sounds sort of like Slay the Spire in that way, and where you're finding out combinations of cards and stuff. But the thing is that it's a little bit limited, right? There aren't actually that many different cards, and the combinations become pretty apparent pretty early, and it becomes kind of easy to see what works and what doesn't. So I put about a little over 20 hours into it, and I felt that by the end of 20 hours, I kind of had it mostly figured out and then stopped. I'll definitely go back to it, but one of the things that's missing from it is the ability to save during a run. So while your hero is walking around the loop, you actually don't really do anything. The hero just fights monsters automatically. You just kind of equip them and so on and so forth. But because you can't save during the loop, what ends up happening is you just have to leave your computer on. And there were periods where I would leave my computer on and like go downstairs and make dinner while Loop Hero's just running and the hero's just fighting monsters. So it's a little bit ridiculous. Like, I'd like to be able to save during a loop because I don't have, 3-4 hours during one run to just kind of sit and make sure everything happens.
So is the game super grindy, like in that way? Like, is it a grind fest, or is it kind of just like, just natural, like just nothing, like what you'd expect?
I don't know if it's a grind fest. What it is it's a little bit. I always thought Slay the Spire was a bit shameless in its manipulation of my addictive nature, right? Because in Slay the Spire, every time you beat a monster, every floor you go to, there's a randomly generated reward, right? So every floor you go to, you're basically pulling the lever on the slot machine. And I'm like, you assholes, you know exactly what you're doing. And of course, you get hooked, right? But the game itself is really, really good. Mm-hmm. I'm pissed off that they hooked me in the way that they did, but I get it. And Loop Hero is very similar. It's almost the same thing, but like on steroids a little bit. I don't know. Because every time you beat a monster, you get new loot, and the loot is random. And so you're always like, oh man, I really need that particular sword. I really need that particular power. And so you just kind of like wait and wait and wait. And every time you get new loot and new loot and new loot. And this isn't anything we haven't seen before. Like, we know that this is kind of an addictive loop. Haha. And so that's kind of what it is. Not so much grindy, but more like shamelessly manipulating us.
So smart. Those Russians, man. They know what they're doing.
I mean, credit to them. I mean, because obviously you want something like that, creative jump to come up with a concept like that. Yeah, fair enough. They further develop, but 48 hours is impressive. But from what you said, Paul, and this is my question, because you can't save, and you just have to wait for the hero to do the loop, and the game itself, I suppose, it's balanced on a very fine balance between risk and rewards. But because you can't save it, if you mismanage and you create a loop that's too strong, does the game has that replay element of you failed, but you instantly want to go straight back to it, or the situation of the loop puts you off from doing another run straight away?
It's a little bit better than that. So one thing I failed to mention is that as you're going through the loop, you get resources. You get stuff like wood, stone, metal, and so on, right? And other like special resources like different orbs and shit like that. So at the end of a loop, every time you complete one loop, you have the option of going back to your little town, and you can take all the resources that you've gathered and you can build new buildings in the town. Those buildings then give you different bonuses, different powers, and so on and so forth. So once you build like a crossbow tower in the town, you're like, oh man, I really want to see what this crossbow tower does. I guess I'm going to jump into the loop again. Oh wow, it's 2 a.m. Oh well. So, you know how these games are, right? So it's not and if you die during the loop, you still keep, I think it's 30% of your resources. So you're punished a little bit because, failure's failure. But at the same time, you still get some resources to bring back to your town. So it's not a complete waste, right? There's 3 different classes as well. There's a warrior, a rogue, and a necromancer. I haven't quite figured out the rogue at all. The rogue to me, seems very difficult, and I haven't looked up any YouTube videos to see like what I'm doing wrong with him. The necromancer is a fucking tank. Like there's sort of like a true ending to the game, and I don't know when it happens. It might be like after 20 loops or something. I don't know. After like loop 18, I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. I'm sitting here for like an hour waiting for the guy to finish this loop. So I'll just wait for them to update it via patch and then come back to it. But anyway, very long answer to your question there, Jay.
Yeah, no, when you mentioned this game, though, I immediately looked it up, and the story of it, I was just like, ooh, this is fascinating.
It's so funny you mentioned the story, because originally when they pitched this game to Devolver immediately pounced on it. They're like, yeah, we like this demo. We want to publish this for you. The game needs a story. And so the guy who worked on the art basically just made up the story like on the spot. It wasn't on paper. It sounds like a very interesting story. Like the world is vanishing and this hero goes through these loops to collect information on the world vanishing and so on and so forth. But ultimately at the end, you just kill God like you do in every you know what I mean? It's the running joke on this show. Like you finish the game, you kill God, and there you go. So sadly, I wouldn't say the story is anything to write home about, but the graphics and the sound, the feel of it. If you guys remember Shadowgate for the NES, it feels very Shadowgate. Like the artwork feels very Shadowgate. The sound, like the music, definitely feels very Shadowgate, which is a really cool, I think, aesthetic to go with. I really appreciated it. Yeah. Although it was hilarious. I was reading an interview with the developers, and they were asked about the retro feel, like it's very retro inspired. And they basically came out and said, yeah, we're not actually really trying to make a retro game. It's not a reference to old games. We just don't have the skill to make it look better.
Honest answer.
Yeah. I love it, man. That was absolutely charming. Because let me tell you, like, it looks good, man. Like, it's got really cool 8-bit kind of inspired artwork. I don't know. Like I said, Shadowgate. It took me back. Yeah. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
And you played it on Steam, was it? You playing on PC? You got it from Steam, you said.
Yeah, it's only on Steam right now, but it sold 500,000 copies in the first week. People really just kind of took to it. And so my expectation is that they'll release it on mobile devices. They want to release it on mobile, and they want to release it on the Switch, is my understanding. I don't know for sure if that's true, but it seems like a very obvious game to release on the Switch. The game uses 2 buttons. Like, it uses 2 buttons and a mouse. And you can, because it's on a 4x4 grid, like, I find that when I play like an RTS on a console, it's a little bit more difficult, right? Because you kind of need that mouse to click and drag and select units and stuff like that, right? It really helps a lot. But if it's on a 4x4 grid, you can just use the D-pad and move the cursor from grid square to grid square, and it's pretty painless. So this is, I mean, a game that's 2 buttons and moving along a grid, like that's an easy decision to make as far as porting to the Switch.
I'm a definitely wait for that portable version. Then this will be perfect for my for my little commutes 1 hour at a time here and there. Cause man, it's funny because I every other week I'm commuting into the city and it's still just like really COVID protocol. So I'm like the only one at my job.
Oh yeah.
But this would be something. This would be something I could definitely like just kind of like chill out and play. You know.
You don't even look like you're playing it because you hardly do anything, which isn't exactly a good selling feature. Like, you hardly have to do anything. But it's kind of true. Like, you're not going to be sweating, sitting there furiously, like playing Dark Souls or something. You know what I'm saying? No. It's just kind of like, it's just an easy little watch the dude go around the loop, equip a weapon, and that's about it. So,
pretty cool.
And probably by the time the Switch comes out, it'll have the quality of life improvements that it really needs it, man. Like, it really needs to be able to save during the run. That's kind of key. Like, I'm not going to touch it again until they do that. I mean, once they do, I'll probably go back to it again. But until then, if
you're going to put it on any portable device, you know, any setting, you're going to have to have a save feature. Like, that's a...
Oh, man, especially on a portable device.
Yeah.
So, with... Okay, so with Loop Hero, actually, you know, we took a little bit long chatting about raccoons earlier, so let's take a little break now. And when we come back, I'll throw a couple more games at you, and we'll see what kind of time we're looking at. We'll probably get Jay in there, too. All right, everyone, we're back. And so I'm going to throw a couple more at you. I'll try and be quick about it so that we don't run out of time. I don't think we're going to run out of time. This is going to be both breezy and meaty. So next game on my list that I've been playing is Total War Shogun Part 2, and Jay's giving me the thumbs up there. So this is widely considered to be the best Total War game in the series. Three Kingdoms, the most recent one's actually really good too, that from what I've heard. But Shogun 2, the consensus seems to be that that's the best one. And I was really in the mood for a Total War game. I played Total War Rome like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. And I loved it. I was absolutely hooked. Ant, have you played any Total War games?
Me, no. Nah, I've watched from the sidelines because these are like, you know, like these are the kind of games that, man, I've always wanted to get into, but I just never either have the time or the patience to just sit there. Plus, I wasn't a PC guy, you know, so these, you know, but that's why I would always see these games from the sidelines. I'd be like, wow, that looks cool. I ain't got no PC though, so
yeah. Well, the thing about Total War, since you're not really sure about it, it's basically a blend of RTS, real-time strategy, and turn-based strategy. So you have turn-based, where you kind of control your cities, your provinces on a world map, and then you assemble your armies, and you try to capture other towns, or you fight other armies in the field. At that point, then, the game switches to a real-time strategy view, and it looks really cool, man. Like, you know, you see all the individual guys fighting and so on. It's like Gladiator. It's pretty epic in scope at times, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's just little skirmishes, but other times you have like 20 units versus 20 units. I might be exaggerating. I don't know if armies can actually go that big, but you can definitely go like over 10.
Yeah, I pulled up some video of it, you know, just watching some gameplay of it, man. It looks so good. And it's how old is this game? About like 10 years old?
Dude, 10 years old this game.
So when I pulled up the video, I they didn't think to look at the year, right? I'm assuming when I threw it on, I was like, oh, that's pretty recent, whatever. And then I'm like, oh shit, this came out 10 years ago. Wow, this is like, looks pretty good.
I know. It looks good.
Yeah.
It wears its age pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I don't want to say addicting, because I just said that about Loop Hero too, but it definitely has that Civilization one more turn quality to it, where you build a new building and then you want to see what the building does. So you click the button and another season passes and then you get to see what the building does, right? So it kind of has that quality about it. There was a lot of time I should have been prepping for this show that I was actually spending playing Total War Shogun 2, just because like I couldn't stop, man. It's too good. It's too addictive.
So it has like a campaign kind of feature, right? I guess it's campaignish, where before the battles, like when you're not battling, like you're trying to kind of like turn-based diplomatic setting kind of situation.
Yep.
And then you go onto the battlefield and it's like the real-time battles, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
When you're in the campaign mode, you can enact diplomacy, so you can negotiate with the other empires, set up trade agreements to get yourself more money, stuff like that.
Okay.
You can send spies at them to like destroy buildings, assassinate leaders, so on and so forth. You can even send like monks to convert them to Buddhism, and then that kind of develops civil unrest. Or if you have like a more Christian-based empire, then you can send missionaries and kind of do the same thing, right? So you have a lot of options outside of just kind of fighting. But don't get me wrong, the best part's the fighting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know, man. Diplomacy's nice and all, but I like assembling an army and just fucking walking in, right?
I know that you're a bit hesitant in saying that it's addictive, but no, you might have just all come out of the gate and say it is addictive. It really, really is. One of the things I remember when playing Total War, the first Total War, that I was trying in the beginning, as you tend to do with video games. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get some like marry someone in my family to someone there, like in the neighboring country, so then I can create an alliance. That wouldn't work. They wouldn't really fill in the idea. Then spies, but then the spies would get caught out.
Yeah.
So they tend to assassinate the spies in like the town square or something like that. I think it's normally when they get found out. And then it's just like, I'll try diplomacy, I'll try to be sneaky about it, but then it's like in the end, just like, just suck this and just like literally just attack with as many units as I could. But it's when you get into it, or even talking about it, you feel they might be a bit, I suppose, too much to take in.
Yeah.
It might become a bit overwhelming. But I think the game does a good job at ease you into the scope, because there is plenty of scope there. But once you make that initial step to check it out, that's it. You're in it for the long run. And
you really are.
Hours just disappear playing that. It's so
it's
good.
Brutal.
Because you always have that thing of, I'll just quickly do this. Never mind the concept of quickly. When playing that game, quickly doesn't exist. It's just the concept.
No, I've had the exact same thing. I was like, I'm just going to play for like half an hour before I get my workout in. I didn't work out that day. Are you kidding me? Man, you can't sit there for half an hour with that game. You have to like set at least an hour aside and really like set a point where you're going to stop, right? Because otherwise you just click that stupid one more turn button and then there's another fight and you have to do the fight. So anyway, I'll tell you what the differences are here. So first of all, Jay, have you played Shogun 2?
No, I played the first one before 3D graphics. The old one was
overall
view.
Yeah,
I played the first, very original, the first one, Shogun.
Well, I can tell you Shogun 2 has a lot of improvements. It kind of falls flat in some areas, but there are a lot of improvements. I'm going to compare it to Rome because that's the one that I have the most experience with. I found with Rome was really cool. Like the overhead campaign part of it was really cool. There's a basic strategy that kind of tends to work in all of these games. That's kind of a fatal flaw, so to speak, which is you kind of provoke the enemy, then they attack you. But if you hide behind your castle, you can usually just annihilate them, right? And then now that their resources are depleted, then you send your army out and you take their shit, right? And that's usually how it works. Shogun 2 is no different. And that's fine, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of the basic strategy of these games, and there's not much you can do about it. The on-field RTS stuff in Shogun 2 though, much better, I gotta say, compared to Rome. Because I found with Rome, what I would do is I would just get the English longbowmen. I'd set them in like a loose formation and just pick at guys from far away. So like if I saw some soldiers far away, I'd set up the longbowmen, fire a couple of volleys, then the guys would get pissed off and they'd chase the longbowmen. But the longbowmen aren't wearing any armor and they just run away. I'm like, okay, run away, run away, run away. And then they stop chasing you and they're like, ah, fuck, we're never going to catch these guys. And then 5 minutes later, the longbowmen start pelting them again, right? Now, if that sounds boring and painstaking and slow, you would be correct. But it is effective.
Right.
I won like every battle with stupid English longbowmen, right? There's just nothing the computer was able to do about it. If they have cavalry, then yeah, they can kind of hunt you down a bit, but that's why you have spearmen. The spearmen protect the longbowmen, and then once the cavalry's wiped out, then you just pick at them all day long. That was Rome. Shogun 2, I haven't seen anything like that yet. There aren't any like super long-range skirmishy units to take advantage of. So the RTS portions are actually like I find that they're just way more dynamic and fun, honestly. Like I can see the enemy cavalry like coming around the flank. They always try to flank you. That is one thing. But you know, you kind of set up your spearmen so that they can counter the cavalry, keep the cavalry busy. You know, you have your bowmen set up, you have your samurais in front of them to protect them. And the game has ninja units that are super awesome. Like every dream I had as a kid about how cool ninjas are, it is realized in Shogun 2, let me tell you. You park your ninjas behind like some samurai and they just throw like these bombs like over your line towards the enemy line, and the enemies are like, oh my god, what is this crazy sorcery? And they freak out, their morale gets broken in like 2 seconds, and I'm like, ninjas, you know, like this is great. So in that way there's a lot of improvements compared to Rome. It's funny, like it sounds like I'm reviewing a 10-year-old game and comparing it to a game that's 18 years old, but like I said, Shogun 2 is widely considered to be the best one, so why not talk about this one, right?
There was some like when I was looking up some video and this stuff, you would talk about the ninjas, and I was kind of like loving the little videos they show of the missions being carried out. It reminded me, it gave me like those FMV vibes, you know, like little window would pop up.
Yeah, exactly, man. You see like the new FMV video?
Yes,
yeah,
I was like, yes, this is awesome.
I like them, and I don't like them in a way too, because like the first few times, it's cool, right? Like your ninja carries out a mission, and so there's a little video of him like creeping around the corner of a building, and there's guards there. And then, oh my god, the guards see him and they chase him away, right? But like basically the video shows what actually happens. But once you've seen them a couple times, then that's it. Like I just hit escape and I'm like, all right, fuck the video. And then you just get the summary of what happened, right? Your ninja was caught. Oh, your ninja was successful. Yay. So you don't actually watch the videos after a while. It's a little bit sad actually, but you know, you just kind of want to get on with it. The game takes a while as it is. So that's how it is.
Have you ever, within the Total War, I suppose all of the different titles, have you ever checked out the Warhammer 40k ones?
No, that'll be the next one. I'm going to wait like another 6 years because I can only play one of these games like, you know, every 5-6 years. They get, like with all these kind of 4X-ish games, once you reach the end game and you know you're going to win, it becomes tedious, right? In order to kind of see that game over, you win screen, it becomes tedious. So I find that I can't play too many of these straight in a row, but Warhammer, Total War Warhammer, it goes on sale on Steam a lot for like 75% off. So next time I see it, I'm going to buy it. And when we're doing this show in 5 years, I'll talk about, you know, Total War Warhammer because I hear it's really good. And I saw you give the thumbs up there. Have you played it yet? No, you just said you only played the first one.
I played the first. No, but I played the Warhammer 40k, the first one.
Right on.
There's also the expansions. The best thing, yes, I mean, fair enough. I am a bit of, I suppose, a fan of the whole Warhammer 40k universe. But
Yeah.
what's really good is the different units and the different weapons, because it's based in that environment, because of the technology and the units. It just makes, let's say, a bit more of an innovation per se to the other Total War games, just because it's the setting, because of the universe. And
Yes.
to be honest, it just looks grim but good, because it's just of the destroyed universe of Warhammer 40k. So also sells really well itself in aesthetics, despite being an old game now. But definitely worth checking out if you like the Total War games.
No, that'll definitely be the next one. But when I play another Total War game, it's definitely going to be the Warhammer one. It's an interesting thing. Thankfully, the Warhammer IP is strong, right? Because if Creative Assembly tried this, Creative Assembly being the developer, and really all they make is Total War. They've made like a couple other games in the past 10 years, but nobody cares. Like, we just want to play more Total War. And so if they had tried something like this, like Total War Fantasyland, you know what I mean? That's probably not going to work as well. Because what I find is that people really like this kind of realistic stuff in their games. I'm a little bit less. I like the fantasy, I like the sci-fi, but people love Call of Duty. People love Counter-Strike. People love Total War because it kind of approximates this realistic vision of warfare that they have fantasies about. And fair enough, right? We all like what we like. I like that stuff too. But thankfully, the Warhammer license kind of gives them sort of like a foundation, right? If it was just, Total War Fantasy, we're making this up as we go along, probably less popular. The other thing too about Warhammer is that because it's a tabletop game, it actually, I don't know, man, to me it looks like it would lend itself perfectly to those RTS portions, because you have the different ranges for all your units and you get to see them move around in real time in ways that you can't on the tabletop, but is still natural compared to the tabletop. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm looking forward to playing it in 5 years.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
Nice.
Put it on the calendar.
So I'll wrap things up here. Jay, I have to thank you, because the other day we started talking about Initial D the anime. I know very few people who have watched Initial D, but every single person that I've introduced Initial D to loves it. And these are all people who don't, I shouldn't say they're all people, but a lot of these people are people who ordinarily don't like anime, but Initial D is the kind of show where I'm like, 4 episodes, just watch 4 episodes. And they watch the fourth episode specifically. You know what I'm talking about, Jay? And they're like, what, we're stopping now? No, we have to watch the 5th one. We have to watch it. I have to watch it now. They go nuts, right? They have to watch the 5th one. They have to see how it ends. And that's it. They're hooked. And so we were talking about Initial D, Dragon Ball Z with cars. I love it. And I'm like, all right, I gotta play Extreme Stage on the PS3. Last year when we were in Japan, I picked up Extreme Stage for the PS3, which is the last Initial D arcade racing game home conversion, right? It's a big mouthful of words there. I probably could have said it better. But that's the last one that was ported to home consoles. It's Initial D arcade stage 4, I think. They're up to 9 of them now in actual arcades, but they translated the 4th one to the PS3. And in case you're curious, you actually can play later arcade games on PC if you are versed in installing Japanese games on your PC. You can play like Arcade Stage 8, and it looks phenomenal. Like, it looks really good. It's not a heck of a lot different from Arcade Stage 4. It just looks better, and there's a few quality of life improvements and a few gameplay tweaks here and there, but largely it's kind of same-ish. So, Extreme Stage, I finally got the racing wheel out. You got to play these games with a wheel. Controller's good too, but I'm super happy I have this wheel. I got it for Gran Turismo and Initial D Extreme Stage. And yeah, man, it was fun. It was fun. I was a little bit disappointed because I was kind of hoping, not having played the arcade games. Well, that's a lie. I've played the arcade games before, but not like in depth, right? Like, there are people in Japan they have their IC cards and they save their cars with the modifications and so on and so forth on their card, and then they play the arcade game that way. I never got into that. I just played a couple times here and there. But having not played it in the arcades that much, I don't know what music was in it. And so I sadly had high hopes that there would be Initial D music from the show in the game. I was kind of hoping that No One Would Sleep in Tokyo and that I'd be running in the 90s, but sadly I wasn't, and it was just new songs. That said, the Eurobeat tunes in this game are really good. Really good. I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I can tell you Dave Rogers makes an appearance because big thumbs up. Dave Rogers makes an appearance. There's a song, Jay, I kid you not. The song is called Speed Car. Speed Car. And it goes like bump, 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 bump. Speed car, speed car. It's like it's so perfect. It's called Speed Car.
Eurobeat intensifies.
Oh
my
the
god.
Eurobeat goodness at its best, at its finest.
Oh my god. So yeah, obviously I'm playing and Speed Car is in the background. And of course, I'm going faster because of Speed Car, right? But beyond that, the game, it's like your typical kind of arcade racer. When you drift around corners, instead of just taking them normally, you go a little bit faster, so you're encouraged to drift, right? It's Initial D, you have to drift. And when you play, it's always one-on-one battles. Mm-hmm. So far, the first race is against Itsuki in his Hachigo, his 8-5. So that's easy, that's just kind of like your warm-up. But then after that, I raced against Takumi, but not in the Hachiroku because he's invincible in the Hachiroku, as we all know. It was in Itsuki's Hachigo, right? So, won that one. And then I raced against Kenji, the guy who in the show like never races, but he's always kind of hanging around.
He's got the S13, isn't he?
He does have the S13, yeah. After that, I raced against the girls, Mako, Impact Blue with the Sil 80.
Oh, the Sil 80.
And then after that, it was Nakazato with the GTR.
R52.
And this one, but this one's the uphill. You have uphill and downhill races. And of course, I was using the Hachiroku because, come on, right? And I couldn't beat Nakazato on the uphill. Like, I tried 5 times, and I was getting so pissed off. It was at Miyogi. You actually don't race at Akina, which I was a little bit disappointed about. But everywhere else is there. I think Akagi is there, unless I'm mistaken. But the bulk of the first kind of chapter is in Miyogi. So there was that. It was really cool. I couldn't beat Nakazato on the uphill. When you race against the other characters, they say lines from the show during the race, which is it's so good, man. The game is not that great. It's just an arcade racer, and it feels like there's a bit of rubber banding. You know what I mean? As soon as I get ahead of the computer suddenly gets a burst of energy and catches up to me. And if the computer gets too far ahead, I feel like they slow down a little bit for me. It feels like there's some rubber banding there. I'm okay with that because the whole point is to battle the other racers one-on-one, right? Fair enough. But it also meant that I could just never beat Nakazato on the uphill. Now, with that said, there is a garage. You can go to the garage, you can upgrade your car. I didn't even really realize that until after I lost against Nakazato for the 5th time and I was getting pissed off. And then I'm like, oh, damn, I can go upgrade my car. Of course I can upgrade my car because people do that in the arcade and they save it on their little card, their IC card. So later today, I'm going back to Miyogi with my upgraded Hachiroku, and I'm going to beat that guy. And he's going to say lines from the show. Whenever you pass him, he's like, Uso! Oh my god, this is a lie!
That's so good.
I don't know, man. It is. It's really cool. It's really cool.
I think, in terms of what you mentioned about the music, I think I've got it, but I haven't played. But I've got the one on the PS2, and when flicking through the manual, they had the credits to the songs, and Space Boy and No One Sleep in Tokyo was on it. So I'm guessing,
serious?
definitely Space Boy. I think on the PS2 version, those 2 tracks are on it. And
oh damn! All right.
To be honest,
I'm gonna have to get it now. Like especially if No One Sleeps in Tokyo, it's No One Sleep. It's not grammatically correct. It doesn't have to be. It's a Japanese song. But if No One Sleep in Tokyo is on that, like, dude, how do I not play that game? Oh my god, Jay, let me tell you. So last February we were in Japan, my wife and I, right? And my wife knew nothing about Initial D because, it's my wife, right? I met up with a friend of mine from Toronto who happened to be there on business, right? We were in Tokyo at the same time. And we decided to go out for karaoke that night. We went to Akihabara during the day. He went to go have dinner with his family, his in-laws. And then we went out for karaoke with my wife at night, right? So, we're singing like the usual kind of karaoke songs. I say the usual, but I mean, I don't know, there's millions of songs out there. I don't know what the usual is, but we were singing like North American tracks, right? And then my buddy, and we each have a tablet to select the songs. This is a private karaoke room, right? And we each have a tablet. So he doesn't know what I'm picking. I don't know what he's picking, right? And then it comes up, No One Sleep in Tokyo. And I was like, oh my god, this is where the night actually starts. And so we sang it. My wife was like losing her mind. She's like, what is this? You know what I mean? And we're just having the time of our life. And then of course immediately I pick up my tablet, and after that it's Heartbeat, and then Running in the 90s, and like the classics, right? So we get back to Canada, and my wife was like, hey, so Initial D, like, can we watch that? Like, what's that all about? Right? Because she heard us singing the songs, and she couldn't get some of the songs out of her head. And she's like, what's the deal? And I'm like, it's okay. You might like it, you might not. In my head, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get hooked. And so I got a Funimation account. I was actually gonna get Crunchyroll, but Funimation was the only service that had Initial D. So that's the one I got, because, they know how to pick them. And after the 4th episode, she was like, are we gonna wait? Like, we're gonna watch the 5th one right now, right?
So good.
And that was it. And then I know. And then we watched the whole series. Anthony, I'm telling you, dude, this series, like, you're not that much of an anime guy, right?
Nah, but let me know. I'm gonna jump on this 4 episodes. Like, I got this.
This is the one, dude. This is the one. This is the one where did your boys ever watch Dragon Ball Z growing up?
If they did, I probably don't remember, because they did it on their own.
Whatever. They're kids. Like, why would you ever want to know what they?
I don't want to know what they watch now. I'm scared to know what they watch now. I might ask them for their login, but I'm scared to watch.
Yeah. Well, this is the one, because I've shown this show to people who have never seen anime before, and like invariably everybody loves it. It's really ridiculous. And it's kind of ugly, isn't it, Jay? Like, the character designs are not. That's the thing. Like, this show, like, the character designs are not pretty. Like, the artist, I'm not going to call him a good artist. He loves drawing cars, right? Like, the cars look phenomenal. He's very detailed. He knows everything. But the actual characters themselves, it's just like a vehicle to tell the story, which is ridiculous. So,
man.
Anyhow, that's Initial D Extreme Stage.
But it's definitely worth checking out, because the guy that is it Suishi Sugino, the guy that's behind Initial D, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it's definitely a double S.
So he's into vehicles. The reason why Takumi drives a Chiroko, it's because he owns one in real life. He owns a he's got a Panda.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The reason why he features so predominantly on the show, it's because that's his actual car. And before Initial D, he did something, I think it's called Bari Bari Densetsu, which is, imagine Initial D, but with bikes.
Oh, really?
And there's an OVA out there that's actually better than Initial D, because the story, it's deeper. It's actually got like a big twist, and he goes into a bit of a dark place with it. But replace the cars with bikes, and now Initial D is officially over. You stop riding it and drawing it, but there's a sequel of some sorts. So Takumi moved to the UK. He became a driving instructor in a rally school or something like that. And there's there's a teenager that's his best student, and he goes to Japan to find about his dad that died or disappeared when he was younger. But it's set in modern times. So what they do is they drive modern cars, but it's all done. These are like electrical cars replaced normal combustion engines. So these races are the only way to keep these cars going. So it's all Ferraris, top of the range, like Audis, R8s, and things like that. And there's a drone that films the whole sequence and broadcasts online. I've started reading the first two or three volumes. I enjoyed it, but it's not Initial D. And Initial D in terms of gaming, the PSP version and the PS2 version. I know you've got the PS3 game, but sort those two out. They won't cost you that much. And I enjoy racing games. I tend to lean more towards the Gran Turismos and the Forzas. And sound plays a part. But playing Initial D game with the sound off and on, and don't get me wrong, I won't go and boogie and jump to Eurobeat. But,
No.
but when you play...
It's a guilty pleasure.
But when you play in Initial D, or if it comes on when I'm driving, I do end up driving faster.
Of course you do.
Of
course you do.
It just triggers it. So if you...
It does.
It really does. So if you enjoy the PS3 game, I would say it's worth tracking down the PSP and the PS2 version. The PS2 I've got it, but I haven't got around to actually play it. During the move, my PS2 that's Region 3 died, so I need to get something sorted. But I completed on the PSP twice, and it's brilliant. It's got pretty much every single car and opponent from the series, and you unlock cards, and these cards change attributes in your car, and you can gamble some certain cards before the race.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so you gamble certain cards. Fun. Yeah, you gamble certain cards, and if you win, the payout is really nice. If not, if you lose, you just end up losing the cards that you put into the table. But it's definitely worth checking out, and they're not expensive.
Well, that's the thing. That's the key, is that they're not expensive. Like even the PS3 one, Extreme Stage, which is, I don't want to say it's hard to find, but like the PS2 one is more common. And even the PS3 one set me back 3,000 yen, like $30, right? It wasn't terribly expensive. So, that was a pretty easy decision. And the PS2 one's probably even cheaper. I'll have a look at the soundtracks. If the soundtracks agree with me, then I'll definitely pick them up, because it's all about those soundtracks, man. Like it's so good. Anyway, gotta stop talking about that. Jay, what have you been playing lately?
So, I suppose a disclaimer before I cover the games I've been playing. First one is, I don't own a Switch, so I'm not one of the cool guys. Second one...
Certainly not.
Definitely not. Second, I'm not really good at games, so I only play stuff on easy by default.
Sorry.
Don't get me wrong, I love video games.
It just made me think of Arnie. I'm sorry. He doesn't have a Switch. He plays the games on easy. Like he even has like a beard and like kind of similar haircut. Like all we need to do is put glasses on this guy, and that's it.
This is like a Scooby-Doo episode. Jay's gonna be like, haha, it's me, Arnie. It's been me all along. And I would have gone away with it.
And the last disclaimer, I suppose, is I'm also a bitter old man, and I suppose the stuff that I've been playing, it's older games, retro games. So the first one, Vigilante on the PC Engine, the 1988 arcade port of the title with the same name. I think at that stage, side-scrolling beat-em-ups were a huge thing in the arcades, and I went through all of them. Double Dragon, Renegade, Vigilante.
Yeah.
It's a very simple formula, and I know that we were talking about Streets of Rage 4 on the break. They did an amazing job bringing, I suppose, what is, by all means, almost a bit like an old-fashioned concept in terms of video game. They did a really good job to bring it to modern standards.
Yep.
But these games, just, I don't know, they just always be appealing to me. And specifically, the PC Engine. I absolutely love the hell out of that thing. I don't own a PC Engine. I play on my Retro Freak that plays all sorts of different systems. But there's something absolutely amazing about collecting for the PC engine titles. I'm not sure if it's how amazing the U cards are, which is roughly, for people not familiar with it, roughly the games come in, these U cards are roughly the size of a debit or credit card. I'm one that always tends to get games boxed, but even when you get PC Engine games, the U cards unboxed, they still look good. And they look, and the form factor of PC Engine as a whole is just, for me, it's absolutely spot on. And out of the Vigilante ports at the time, I think the PC Engine and the Master System are possibly the best ones.
Yes. I've played both. The Master System one is surprisingly good. Yeah. The PC Engine one is really spot on. Now, it's not a terribly difficult game to port in a way. The controls, everything, it's like super, super simple. So it's really just kind of graphics. And the PC Engine replicates the arcade graphics pretty well. The PC Engine version, also notable, the American version took this out. But Anthony, I kid you not, in the PC Engine version, they have kidnapped Madonna. And you have to rescue Madonna.
Man.
They changed the name for America, but and I gotta tell you, I don't know if the Japanese meant like the Madonna or a Madonna, but based on the amount of Madonnas I knew growing up,
I only knew one. Yeah.
We only knew one. So Madonna's kidnapped and you have to go rescue her.
I did not know that. That is so awesome. It makes me just get so mad at when they just take stuff out in North America, man.
I know. Now, they didn't have a choice. Let's not kid ourselves. That's a lawsuit like in 2 seconds.
And it's funny as well, because at the beginning of each level, I think it's got 5 or 6 levels, but at the beginning of each level, you see a screen with a bit of text, and usually it's just Madonna on the back of a van, isn't it, lying down?
I know, it's not not PC
at all. And he just says like something like, "Oh, you're running out of time. Save Madonna. Madonna needs you."
Yeah.
Oh man,
that alone, it's a really good selling point for the game. But the game itself,
it really is.
The game itself, it's good, but also I suppose reinforces a bit what I was saying about one of the disclaimers in the beginning. I'm crap at the game. I really enjoy it, but my god, that game is hard. Is it just me? Because you play this, Paul, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm sorry, dude. I think it's just you. It's an arcade port in the 16-bit/8-bit era. It's meant to be difficult, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really just kind of a glorified kung fu. And it's difficult, but not impossiable. I'm sorry.
The thing is,
thanks for coming. It's great to have you on the show.
But the thing is, I still beat the game because I play on the Retro Freak, so I can save. It's got save states, so whenever I make a mistake, load it. So I did complete the game, but I also find funny that you get punched or kicked. Fair enough. Even if you get shot, takes a bit of energy. Whenever one of those bodies grabs you, the energy just starts to disappear in a flash of an eye. It's just, it's really. For everyone else out there, it's a fairly average difficult game. For me, it was really hard. But I really enjoy it. And it's one of those things. I mean, it's a game from 1988. It's not going to impress by today's standards. But it also has this very honest gameplay in the sense that if you grab the game, you know exactly what's expected of you. And the controls are not overcomplicated. And it's literally just get from left to right, kick everyone's butts that's just thinks it's a good idea to stand in your way. And at the end of the level, you're going to have a guy that's a bit bigger than you and a bit more muscle that's going to try to take you out. But we all go through this, I suppose, as gamers. At times you go through games that take 80, 90 hours to complete. So you just want something that's simple and honest, that you load it up, you fire up, and within a minute, you immerse in it, you know what you need to do, you don't unlock levels or characters or abilities very straightforward. And in that sense, games like this, Double Dragon, for me, always work a charm. And
Yep.
it is a game from 1988, but for me, it's going to be one of them that, although I completed, I'll always get out of the shelf to have another go because it doesn't really lose any of its shine, I think, my opinion.
No,
Yeah.
and the thing is, games from this era, rather, they kind of live and die by their controls, right? So a game like Fist of the North Star / Last Battle for the Genesis,
Oh man.
great concept,
Yeah.
great graphics, unplayable,
Yeah.
right? Like the controls are just it's too loose, it's too delayed. Vigilante's snappy. You hit that button, the guy kicks, and he does it fast. And so there's really no kind of guesswork involved. Even something like Double Dragon, I hate to say it because I loved Double Dragon when I was a kid. But even Double Dragon's like kind of just a little bit floaty. Like when you throw the elbow, it takes like a half a second before it actually connects with the enemy. It's a little bit weird. That said, love Double Dragon. But Vigilante, yeah, it's nice. It's snappy. Irem did, they did a nice job with it. It's a simple game. It doesn't try to be more than what it is, and for that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I
Go
mean,
rescue Madonna.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, simple game, but the execution is pretty decent, and there is something satisfying when you actually get hold of nunchucks. There is just something satisfying about using them. And
Yes.
that's another big selling point for me. So, yeah, Vigilante is one of them. I've played that one, completed. Obviously, due to my amazing, impressive skill level, only due to the autosaves, to the save states. But it'll be something that there's a pretty good chance I will be taking out of the shelf for another rerun at some stage.
Anthony, have you ever played a game where the nunchucks made it worse?
Well, I was gonna say the anytime you played a side-scrolling brawler, that was the best part. Picking up any weapon, that was what you lived for. I mean, I can't remember the first time I saw that in a game, but I imagine I had the biggest smile on my face. Like, yes, this is what it's all about right now. This is it.
All right, Jay. What else? What else we got on the on tap here?
The next game I've been playing, a bit more recent, something that was out in 2010, Pixeljunk Monsters.
Yes, I'm very interested to hear about this one.
This specifically one, it's the PSP version, which was the last one I played. But this was out on the PS3. I think you can also get it on the Vita. There's also a Vita version, the deluxe version that has all of the DLC included.
Oh, wow.
In essence, it's a tower defense game that you control a tiki man, and you have to protect your chicks, and you just have different combinations of monsters coming in waves. Some of them move some of them are terrestrial, some aerial monsters. There's different type of towers, and some of them are a bit stronger against certain towers, weaker against others. So I suppose it's one of them that it supports co-op. Co-op, I found it's the way to complete this game. I think single player, and again, it might be just the fact that I suck at video games, but
I'm not saying anything. No.
But I see you nodding. But I find that this works better in local co-op. I completed this game on the PS3, and it's one of those games that I think I might have even got platinum on it. Not down to me, down to my wife. My wife is not that much of a gamer, or she says so quite often. But she doesn't own a console per se. But I think of the few the games I've reached platinum, one I did it by myself. The other ones was with my wife's help, and Pixeljunk Monsters was one of them. And in co-op, at times just moments of just fits of laughter that we could not stop laughing.
Nice.
It's just, and we also developed this almost silent language to clear the game. The levels would start. We got to a point. We fine-tuned it. That we got to a point when the level would start, we know exactly what towers to develop. Kat would be raising and building the towers. If you leave your tiki man in the tower, you boost the tower, the performance of the tower over a period of time. So we had this strategy all laid out, and it was all done in this no signal, just silent language. And it was just because it's one of those things that you get to almost to a spot stage that you understand exactly what the other person expects you to do. And in that sense, I suppose a bit like something like Overcooked. I've got tons of people telling me that they got into fights with their respective others while playing Overcooked.
Yep.
While me and Kat, another game that I got platinum, and again, this is down to Kat, not to me. But at times we had to pause the game or restart levels because we were laughing so hard, literally on the floor. The first time I threw a vegetable at Kat's face by accident, it went on for hours of us just laughing. But Pixeljunk Monsters, it's a game that also oozes charm. The graphics are very colourful. There is a very real threat that if you don't stop the monsters in time, they'll go to the hut and they'll take one of your chicks. And it's actually quite sad because when they reach the chicks, you can see the ghost of the chick rising to heaven, which is a nice touch, I suppose. But despite this, the presentation is so colourful. It's very approachable, quite friendly, but it does hide a very solid difficulty level, proper depth to it as well, in terms of what towers to develop, what towers to build in the first place. And he also has one of the most relaxed zen soundtracks I've ever experienced. The game itself was developed by Santa Monica Studios, so
oh wow,
yeah, they know how to develop games, and it's just one of those things that I find that not that many people actually gave it a shot, tried it out, and in my humble opinion, it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna get this one because the one genre of game, we've been doing this show now for over 3 years. The one genre of game that I play the most versus the amount that we talk about on the show, which is 0, is tower defense games. I love tower defense games. I always play a couple of new ones every year, but I never talk about them on the show because they're kind of like this genre that people kind of like frown on, you know what I mean? Like it's not very well respected. But I'm telling you right now, I could do an episode on tower defense games because I've played a ton of them. And I find that with games like Pixeljunk Monsters, I find that the tower defense games that have a more cartoony feel to them are almost always better. Yeah. And I don't know why that is. Like the ones that have a more futuristic feel or like realistic feel, they just kind of tend to fall flat. I think you need that kind of like cartoony vibe to it because it also helps separate the enemies on the screen. You know what I mean? Like they have very colorful and distinct looks to them and they're separate from the background. With something like Defense Grid, I don't know if you've played Defense Grid, but like Defense Grid has a very brown, gray, black tone to it. It's very kind of cold. Good game, but it's no Kingdom Rush, for example. So Pixeljunk Monsters, yeah. Now I had no idea. I didn't know about this game until you mentioned it, and the fact that it's by Santa Monica Studios and so on. I'm in. Like I'm in the market for a new tower defense game, and this is totally gonna do it for me. And like, is this a genre that you've ever dipped your toes into?
Lightly, but see, this is what I love about these episodes is that it gets me to want to like, even if it's just to sit down and try some of these games for an hour and just say, "Oh man, this was really fun," you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
To my point before we started recording, how I said I just see things how like I want to see them. When Paul sent me the game list that we were working on today, I thought I saw Pixeljunk Monsters 2. So this is my life. I just see.
Sure, yeah.
I see whatever I want. No, but regardless, I mean, gameplay is pretty much similar anyway. I'm intrigued by the local co-op though. That's the thing that I'm kind of curious about because that you just don't.
Me too.
You don't get that anymore, and I feel I got a good feeling, just what Jay was saying, that I can probably get Hannah to play this with me. I think you'd be able to do it. A bit of a funny thing with that one was we played Pixeljunk Monsters, and it was one of the first, I suppose, introductions for me to say to Kat, let's play something together. And after we completed, I thought, strategy games, tower defense games. And at the time, I got something called Savage Moon, I think, or something like that on the PS3, which reminded me a bit of
Is it Starship Troopers, the movie? Because you fight these aliens that look a bit like giant spiders kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a bit like what Paul was saying. The palette, it's sci-fi, it's very grey and brown. And can't look at it, and it's like, no.
I like I said, I'm confident. And she kind of owes me only because she's gotten hardcore into playing Dungeons and Dragons with her friends. And she has me come on like I want to be a part of this, but I don't want to like what do you call it? I don't need another
be a nerd, a giant nerd.
I don't need another commitment to do. Like she does this every 2 weeks, and I'm just like, I don't. But it's like the look on her face when I'm like, I can't do. Okay, fine. They created a character for me. I'm sitting there. Yeah. They are just like hardcore into this shit, man. They're just like,
dude.
She was like, I'm sitting down at the table with her yesterday, drinking mezcal though, because I need to get into that zone just to sit there, right?
Sure,
and
yeah.
she's asking like, oh well, they're at a bar, and she's like, well, I said I was gonna get this round, but you sure I was gonna get this round? And I'm looking at her like, woman, we are not out and about. Like, this is a game. I don't understand. With that being said, she fucking owes me. She's gonna sit down and play this with me if she doesn't mind. And I think she could get into this though, just because of that. Like, she loves that world creation kind of mindset of playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I feel like I could get her involved in this,
God, this is hilarious because your problem is the opposite of what 90% of couples, where it's the guy playing D&D and he's trying to get the girl into it. But D&D, like, low key, very, very approachable for the ladies.
Oh yeah. She's into it.
It's a game that it's a very, very social game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of lost because it's traditionally a game played by introverts, but it is an extremely social game. You're always talking, always describing, and you're hanging out with friends and having fun.
No, it's cool. And I don't mind like playing it, alone, but it's just like they're on a set schedule, and on some of those Fridays at 7:00 at night,
ooh.
Right? Like, do I want to spend the next 4 to 5 hours playing this with? No.
Yeah, man. You've had a work week.
Yeah.
Friday night's always a tough one as you get older. Like when I was in my early 20s, Friday night.
Yeah.
But now, no, please, man.
I can't.
I'm going to Club Bed featuring DJ Sleep.
I'm like, I gotta get up in the morning to record an episode at 10 a.m. I can't be playing this at 7 p.m. with you the night before. This is going to eat up into this time.
The only problem that you might be facing, Anthony, is that if you persuade Anna to play Pixeljunk Monsters with you, she might then feel like you owe her. So one day you'll get back from work, Friday night, and she just has like a proper helmet and a cape and a sword waiting for you. Just for you to wear there in the game.
The cosplay's coming, right? That's what's going to happen
next. That's next stage.
This is,
get ready for it.
Man.
The careful dance of marriage. Like the give and take, navigating the waters, minefields everywhere.
That's a good point, Jay. You know what? I'm going to keep this away from her. You're right. I'm going to keep this away from her. I don't need this.
All right, guys. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Jay, you can give us one more, and then Anthony will give us his.
Region 3. Region 3.
All right, everyone, we're back. Jay, what's the last game here that you want to talk about?
So the last game I've been playing, and another one that reflects my age, it's the original Samurai Shodown. As opposed to, without going on a tangent or making this too long, the Neo Geo AES was the holy grail. While I was growing up as a teenager, that was the holy grail. And I promised myself I would buy that console at some stage. Been working for a considerable amount of time on the wrong tax code, so the government just sent me their very nice juicy check with all of the money I was owed. And at the time, I just thought, yeah, it's now or never. So I was lucky enough to buy a box one with all of the inserts and everything. But I soon came to realize that owning and then actually buying games for it were two different things. So
yeah,
I only got to buy 10 games, by all accounts, really decent games I enjoyed, but Neo Geo AES games is just pile out of control. I'm not a rich man that can have an extensive collection, so I sold my AES and the games, and I bought a consoleized MVS, and as most people do, got the multi-card, 161 in one, as most people do.
Yep.
But actually, the first game I bought MVS card was Samurai Shodown, the original one from 1993. And the reason I picked that one specifically, it's because I will never, ever, ever get tired of that game. I would say possibly this was the game that really got, I suppose, almost engraved in my brain when I first saw it at the arcades. The combination of the fact that they were reusing weapons, the warriors had weapons, which now is a bit more commonplace, but back in 1993, it wasn't.
It's all new.
It was completely different. The actual timing of Samurai Shodown, that special, you can perform special attacks, but to win, it's always about the timing. And the fact that the game slowed down when you hit a very strong, powerful attack, just emphasize this. He has an amazing soundtrack that at the time blew my mind because it was not like the traditional soundtrack in a video game, but even to this day, still feels quite unique, even if there were sequels that improved on the original game. But the solid gameplay, the amazing presentation, it still looks so good to this day and age. It's just one of those games that I cannot fail and just I have to go back to from time to time. So I've got it on the AES, which then I sold it. I bought it on the MVS, my first MVS card. But then I've got in gazillions of different ports. I've got also on the Genesis, for me, the Mega Drive, the SNES port, the Game Gear port. That game, it's one of those games I bought in as many different versions I could. Including the most recent one, which is the PS4, part of the PS4 Samurai Shodown collection. But it's one of those games that, yes, Street Fighter dominated the genre, rightly so. But SNK games / Neo Geo games are very different formula to Capcom, and they are among some of my favorite. And possibly one of the first ones I got to experience was Samurai Shodown at the arcades. And the MVS game is, in essence, the arcade game. So it's absolutely brilliant. It's something that I will go back time and time again. And because, as I mentioned before, I suck at video games, my MVS has got the latest version of the UniBIOS. So I can activate God mode and stuff like that. So I can actually now complete the games. Because the games are brutal, man. They are brutal.
Yeah, some of the like side scrollers or so on for the Neo Geo, those are they're horrendous. They're quarter munchers. Yeah. They're supposed to be quarter munchers, right? Like that's how it is.
And then now, because now I can basically save the game and activate God mode, I get to see the ending for all of the characters and see that beautiful case of English when you complete the game. That actually says congratulations.
Phenomenal. Yeah, man. This is one of the reasons why. I mean, Samurai Shodown 1, I remember when it came out, and it was a phenomenon, right? Like you said, it wasn't Street Fighter 2. Everybody was still playing Street Fighter 2, right? And that's just kind of how it was. But Samurai Shodown was different. It was different enough that it really stood out from everything else, and it got a lot of play. And Samurai Shodown 2, that's kind of my favorite in the series personally. And the English in Samurai Shodown 2 is top tier. Like, and I'm gonna send you the intro for that game later.
Okay.
It is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. And it has like a few more characters and stuff than part 2. It's a little bit more refined, but part 1 is special in that it's the first one, and it really set itself apart. That thing you said, Jay, where when you hit your opponents with like I'm gonna call them like a fierce slash. Mm-hmm. And the game kind of like slows down for emphasis. It wasn't just the slowdown. It was also just the amount of damage, dude. Like one slash and you're depleting a giant chunk of your opponent's health. It was really cool. Like it's like the difference between playing Quake and Rainbow Six. You know what I mean? Like Rainbow Six, it's a lot more tension. You take one bullet and it's a rough go, right? And you can get headshot and so on and so forth. Whereas Quake, it's just kind of run and gun and so on. And that's how I feel about Samurai Shodown versus virtually every other fighting game at the time. Samurai Shodown, a little bit more of a dance, a little bit more strategic, a little bit slower. And if you get hit the wrong way, oh boy.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's because at the time, like you mentioned, Jay, like Street Fighter was out, and for better or for worse, like games like this didn't get the attention they deserved at the time from the gen. But if you played these games, if you played Samurai Shodown, you knew what was up. And what I really liked about this game, and you kind of just touched on it, was that you got rewarded when you did something really good, and you got destroyed when you did something really bad.
Yeah.
Like you earned either way. Like you earned it either way. And
yes.
And it was like you said, it was very strategic. Like the mechanics were deeper, but you could still button mash. But you can, you could still have like a slow dance at it too. And I mean, even having played it more so later on, like even now, like I have the MVSX, the little SNK cabinet. So I'm able to like really get a good, like, man, this is what everybody was crowded around at the arcades, like, messing around with. And like you said, Jay, now I can actually complete these things.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, going back, this is 1993, and I also think exactly what both you two gents were saying. The aspect of the dance associated with it. The game offers a lot of tension. It's a fighting game, but offers a lot of tension because the fact that the actual action itself slows down when what would be later a critical hit, but at the time was just a fierce slash. It's just there in case of look at the damage this has just caused. And when you would literally, at the end, you could kill the opponents in different ways, but if you attack, the last move was the fierce slash, and there's literally just the spraying of the blood, like in a Kurosawa movie, just add drama to it, and added to the soundtrack, just made it stand out on its own. And let's be honest, it's 1993, there's a character called Anzu Atori that's a ninja, and that's all you need. Even if the rest sucked, that's all you need. In the 90s, ninjas were the top thing that everyone wanted. So the game itself, but although he had the ninja, he also showed another side as opposed to feudal Japan that was not commonplace in games. So it just felt very exotic, very unique, its own identity. And for that reason, I think it's always going to remain one of my favorites. I agree with Paul. The sequel, out of all of the games I've played in the franchise, Samurai Shodown 2 for me it's the best. Introduces my favorite characters, Senjuro. But the first one is always going to have a special place in my heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right on, man. I have all day for Samurai Shodown, but I kind of don't because we're running out of time. So, Anthony, what about you? What have you been playing?
Okay, man. So, a quick, I'm gonna give you a quick little synopsis of what's been happening. So, we moved, and Hannah decided to surprise me with an arcade cabinet, right? And yeah, she's a keeper. I gotta get a bigger rock now. Like this, fuck.
What?
Oh, I should be playing Dungeons and Dragons with her. Okay, fuck it. And
the list is just building up, man.
She got you an arcade cabinet.
Yeah,
like, you kind of have to roll up that elf thief or whatever.
I'll be whatever you need me to be, girl. So, but we were talking about it at the beginning before we started recording was that we've been stashing our gaming collections, hiding everything, so I had bought a few arcade cabinets from One Up Arcade and had them stored, whatever. Once we moved over here, started building them up. She tells me, she goes, I got you, got you an arcade cabinet. I was like, what? Like, get out of here. So I'm over here in my head thinking, which one did she get me? Which one do I want? I hope she didn't get me one I don't like. Oh, but wait, it's a gift. Fuck it. I'll keep it. Whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it comes and it's a At Games Arcade Ultimate. Have you guys heard of this thing?
Yes.
I haven't. Jay's nodding, but yeah.
Oh, it's Legends Ultimate. I'm sorry. At Games Legends Ultimate. When it came, I was just I looked at the box and I saw At Games and I was like, what the fuck is this shit? At Games?
They're good, man.
Like,
they're good.
No, but I went down the rabbit hole and started finding out, these dudes have created quite a community with these arcade units and their pinball machines. Like they just kind of reinvented themselves.
Yeah.
So I put it together. It's great because it's basically open sourced. It's nothing licensed or anything. It comes with like a few games that like kind of like, like it comes with like 300 games, whatever. But the good stuff is when you go on Etsy, because I don't have the patience to do this myself.
Yeah.
I bought like a USB stick with 1,600 games, for like $27. It came, I plugged it in, and boom, my entire childhood of arcade machines, like games everywhere, is just unlocked right now.
Oh, wow. So is this like a full-sized cabinet like when we were kids, or is it like a mini one like the arcade one-ups?
No, it's actually like, it's full size, but it's a lot thinner. You know what I mean?
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that thick and wide, but as far as like the front where you comfortably have two people there, it's got like a
more
nice...
like the Japanese, like the one I told you about the other day, the Capcom Mini Cute. Like you have to really kind of be comfortable with the person you're playing with. Right.
Yeah, this thing, it just comes fully loaded, man. They've got like another story for another day, but they've got the stuff they're gonna come out with, like a attachment racing wheel and light guns and stuff like that. So I'm really excited. Yes, I am really excited about this thing, man. But like I said, it's moddable. It comes out the box ready to mod, and you just plug in a USB and you're playing everything.
Nice.
So with that being said, this just, and Jay, like this kind of like piggybacks of what you were saying. There's something really special about those late 80s, 90s arcades and like side scrolling beat 'em ups and everything. And there was 3 games I couldn't wait to play. The first one is Super Off-Road.
Dude, it just occurred to me that if there's a racing wheel attachment,
it's the full experience.
Super Off-Road just becomes you're in. A million times better.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, so Super Off-Road, man, like that's a game that, and I might touch on the next 2 games I talk about in the same way, but back then you had an arcade and then you had an NES port. And it was a real hit and miss, man. It was real hit and miss. You didn't know what you were getting, man. Like, but
it was like a box of chocolates, but almost every flavor is charcoal.
Yes. Yo, because Super Off-Road though was one of the better ports because it wasn't like a complex game.
Agreed.
It wasn't like, but it was an arcade game. It was current. And to get it on the NES when it finally came out, which is great, but
yeah,
nonetheless, I'm finally being able to play it in its full arcade perfection. And it is so much fucking fun. Like it's it's so fun because it's like, it's not deep. You could jump in and out of races. My boy came over the other day and we were playing this thing for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like we could not stop, man. Like just hitting those bumps. If you hit the wrong bump, that's it. Your car was just like completely U-turned out, like, yeah. I don't know, man. It was, hitting those nitro. It was just so much fun, man. And it's one of those games I really remember playing on the NES a lot because it was so similar. And then later on, it came out on the Super NES. And you know how the game is just using Toyota trucks. I think I had mentioned this one time, but on the Super NES version, and this is like a small tidbit of information that only I would probably remember. It's that the intro screen when you were selecting your car was the same music from the Toyota commercials. So it was kind of like, and I thought that was like at the time, I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Wow, like, that is a detail only you know.
Yeah, you see what I mean, man? I'm special. I'm like the Rain Man of video game nonsense. But man, I just Off-Road, man, it's just taking me back, man, and just playing it like it's, the way it was meant to be played is just so much fun.
Oh,
man.
Dude, that's so cool, man. I remember playing that game in the arcade, and the NES version, I had more fun with it because the arcade version, I would turn the wheel and it just never felt like what happened on screen. And don't get me wrong, it was my fault. I wasn't good. But it never felt like what was happening with the wheel was representative of what happened on screen.
Yeah, because it was too loose.
You just fucking touch the thing and your truck goes like flying. Like every single turn that I made in that game was 180 degrees. Like I could never actually like finesse it. It was just like my car's just going all over the place. So yeah, in a way, I actually preferred the NES one because I could accomplish things. But in the arcade, you're right, man. Like you hit some bumps, you turn the wrong way, but it was fun though. Still,
Yeah, it was fun as hell, man.
yeah.
And-
Why?
But
Why was it so much fun for a game that I could not control for the life of me?
Right? But like you said, the NES one is the one I had the most fun with. That's the one I played the most.
Yeah.
Like that's the one that I would run through. I don't even think you could save it. Like all your progress. It was just like you play as much as you can and then you just reset and you start from scratch. But I love that game, man. I love it.
I think a big part of the appeal is when you get into a zen state with it. When you flow, and Super Off-Road really flows. When you hit the nitrous button just at the right place before the jump, when you nail that corner, it really flows. If you screw up,
Oh man.
you're just basically facing all of the opponents in the wrong way.
Yeah.
But for the occasions when it's flowing, it flows like not that many racing games do, especially at that time.
Yeah, exactly. There was a certain appeal about that game, man, and just the races were short. You know, so you're not wasting time. It's like 4 laps, and sometimes you even forgot that it was over. Like you think you're going on the last lap, and it's like, oh, that's it. Oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, give me my prize money. You know.
Yeah, man. So you were so then you're just controlling it with a stick and buttons, right?
Well, so the good thing about this unit is that it has the so not only does it come with the buttons and the control and the joystick, it also has the what do you call that, roller?
Tracking ball.
Like a track ball?
It's got trackball.
The tracking, yeah. It has the roller in the middle, right?
Wow.
But under the buttons for each player, it has remember the Arkanoid dial?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you use to steer the car right now.
Whoa.
And it
Dude,
works.
That's so
it works
much better than I thought. I thought you were just
Yes,
using it like a
and
digital stick.
Yeah, and it works exactly like you're remembering the steering wheel working in the arcade because it's so loose. So they nailed it. They nailed the control right. But like you said, Jay, when you're steering that thing perfectly, man, you're flying. You're loving. You think you're the man. You think.
Yeah. Dude, and a trackball too. Have you played Centipede with the trackball?
I did, man. I played a few. There's
nice.
You know what I played with it? Operation Wolf. I use the track wheel as the gun because they don't have the gun attachment yet.
Yeah.
But you can use that to kind of like just scroll over enemies and just start shooting everybody.
That's not bad.
No, it works. It works better than I did on my NES because that zapper never worked when I had Operation Wolf on my NES. I don't know how I even did it. I actually used a controller and I'm shooting everybody with the button. I'm like, man, I don't have these reflexes, man. I do not have these reflexes.
I'm really sorry to say this, Anthony, but I can see the cosplay for Dungeons and Dragons coming up really quick.
It's happening, man.
Yeah,
After that present, that's it.
I know.
You're
as
gonna be wearing
I
some pointy green shoes soon.
As I said this, man, I'm like, oh, I guess I do deserve to be. She does. Yes. Okay. Let me just put on these like wool underwear and just cosplay. You know.
Wool underwear.
I don't know. This is what cosplays do. I don't know. There's a visual though. You're welcome.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I'm gonna remember that one on those lonely nights at sea. Anyhow.
Oh man.
Oh, I know what's gonna go on my Christmas list.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, Christmas cards, you got it, baby. You got
Dude, he's
it.
doing like the George Costanza pose, like lying down. Oh yeah.
But each one of you will get a different pose. Like one of you will get this. You know, the other one will get this. You know, it's all good.
Oh,
man.
Yeah, so Super Off-Road.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Super Off-Road. Yeah, steering wheels. Woohoo! Man, Hannah. Okay, Hannah, I love you. I'm sorry I doubted you. Anyway, yeah, man. So then going in that same vein, I just these games, man. I just needed to play these games I couldn't get a chance to play at the movie theater back in the day.
Yeah.
Robocop arcade, the first game. This was now taking me back. This is back when movie theaters you couldn't reserve seating, people. You couldn't reserve seating. You had to get there and wait. And Robocop was one of the arcade machines they had there. And I remember, movie licenses, Robocop, like this was amazing. Like this is what everybody, and it's shoot 'em, beat 'em up / shoot 'em up, kind of like let's say like a Shinobi kind of thing where you're shooting.
You know what it is, dude? It's Bad Dudes.
Yeah.
Very, very much like Bad Dudes.
That's exactly it. Yeah. But you're Robocop, and I'm playing this arcade one, and it's so funny to hear like the sound clips from the movie, like between the levels, like you're under arrest,
Oh my God, they're so good. Dude, when he's walking through the level and some of these guys, I don't even think they're armed, and he's just going, drop it. Drop it. And it's just like at random points, drop it. And it doesn't even sound like drop it. It sounds like he's saying like cough it or something. So it took me hearing it like half a dozen times to be like, what on earth? Oh, he's saying drop it. Oh, right on. But it's like at random. It's so great. He's just walking through the level.
It's true.
And like he sees a bird flying over, drop it. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. Like I remember playing this game in the arcade though, man. Like you said, Jay, like it's just something about these games, man. Something that they're never gonna go out of style for me. Yeah. And I just love going through this level now without having to put quarters in and just like run through the game and just like wonder how the hell I made it so far when I was a kid. And now I'm like dying within the first few enemies because I'm like, where do these people come from?
Oh, dude, I have to visit you so we can play Bad Dudes on that arcade cabinet. Now that I think about it, like
Bad Dudes is one of the licensed games that they have for the cabinet.
Of course,
they have like a bunch of they have a bunch of games that like are official to the cabinet, right?
Yeah.
Mostly like games like I mentioned, Operation Wolf, Bad Dudes, stuff like that. There's a lot of games on there, that are licensed officially, but even the ones that are just kind of like emulators are just like good, man.
So ultimately, what did you think of RoboCop?
Man, I still love that game. I love it more now that I don't have to put quarters in.
Yeah.
But it does, again, it takes you back to when I was so happy about this game that I couldn't wait to get the NES port of this game. Yeah. Which I remember playing this game for like, and it's just, I don't even know how old I was, man. I must have been like 11 maybe. And I had my own money. I saved up my own money to get this game. Got it, went home, tried playing like the first level and was like, what the fuck is this, man?
Dude, I remember a buddy of mine got it when I was a little kid. They're not buddies at that time. I had a little friend who got RoboCop, and I went to his house to play it. And I played it for about 4 seconds, and then I asked him, how do you jump? And he says, you can't jump. And I swear to God, I distinctly remember like having to hold my tongue and be like, oh, interesting. But like, no, you can't. It was not good.
Yeah, that was the first thing I remember. Like, what? This can't be right. Like, yeah. And in typical NES fashion, they made the game more difficult just to prolong your death of playing this game, you know?
Because they hate children. They hated children.
Yeah, they hated kids, man. And then, they would switch it up a little bit, right? They would switch up these levels, like, because, you would go from left to right, but on some levels, you go from right to left, and it was like, ooh, okay, this is different, And but they just made the levels longer for no reason. And it was like, sometimes you do like a stage. It was, remember, like there'd be like 4 sections to a stage in some games. Yeah. Which is basically the same level that you played in the arcade, just over and over and over again.
Yep.
But this game was tough, man. On the NES, it was just like brutal, man.
Great first level music, though. They reproduced that faithfully.
They did really good with that, yeah. Yeah. I do, yeah. I give them credit for that one.
Yeah, they're not expecting anyone else to get past the first level, that's why.
They clearly wasn't. They clearly weren't. Damn you, Data East. Damn you.
Man, Data East was such a hit and miss back then. Like, geez, some of their NES ports, I was like, oh boy. And eventually you see Data East, not quite LJN territory, but, definitely a couple tiers below Capcom when you saw the logo. But in the arcade, much better. I thought.
Yeah, when you would see the Data East logo in the arcade, you knew you were getting some quality game. and then it would convince you that you were getting the same quality game on the NES.
Yeah.
And that's when you would just be heartbroken.
Man, oh man, that arcade version is definitely the way to play RoboCop. Like it is, it's quite entertaining. Like I mean, you take the Bad Dudes formula, honestly, and you put just like a RoboCop skin on it with the digitized voice. I never heard the digitized voice. I never saw it as like in the arcade when I was a kid. The first game that I ever played that had really good digitized voices was the X-Men beat 'em up arcade game, the 6-player cabinet.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I'm like, "Oh my god, these voices sound so good," right? But RoboCop did it way earlier. Like some of the things he says at the end of the level are actually like quite detailed and hilarious.
Good, man. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just, man, it's just, because I'm so glad she got me this thing, because there's like, I love like getting one-up arcade machines, right? But there's a limit. There's just going to be a limit to like what I was playing in the arcades that I would actually want to have in my home. Like by the time the late 90s, 2000s came, I wasn't going to the arcades that much to really be connected to arcade machines. So I feel like I got everything I ever wanted now. But there's games like RoboCop, there's games like Off-Road that are just, they're never going to license these games to make, a licensed cabinet for. So it's nice to have them and just kind of like think of a game and I'm like, oh man, yes, let me go play that. And it's there on the cabinet, So it's really fun. And then you can, on the cabinet, it's really cool because a lot of these games, you can save them wherever you left off.
Nice.
Yeah, so you don't even have to sit there and play through. You could just save it, come back to it later.
That's great.
Do you have the?
That's great.
Do you know if the arcade cabinet you've got? Do you know if it has that Capcom Alien vs Predator?
I was thinking the same thing.
It does. That's okay. So that's one of the first I looked at because it has Alien vs Predator. It has the Punisher.
Ooh.
It has all the Darkstalker games, Night Warrior, everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alien vs. Predator's on there and The Punisher. Those are the two games that I was like, man, I want to play this like in full arcade.
You sure do.
And they're there. They're there, man.
Right on, man. Anything else?
Yeah, so the last one, and I remember seeing this in the arcade and just being really intrigued. Like this was back in, I think it was back in like 89, 90 when the Genesis was about to drop. And I don't know if it's aged well now, but Michael Jackson Moonwalker in the arcade, which we both know is never going to come out ever again on anything.
Nope, they're not re-releasing this one.
No. And I remember in the arcade, I think they had like they did. They had a 3-player cabinet. So you could be like 3 different MJs, like they gave, and each MJ was a different color. Yeah. And not complexion of Michael Jackson. I mean like colors on the rainbow.
Well, accurate because he did have his phases, but yeah.
That is true. But you could have like 3 Michael Jacksons rescuing kids, which is so good. Like, I mean, what's better than one Michael Jackson? Have 3 rescuing kids,
Oh man. The fact that when you rescue kids in this game and you get health back.
Oh yeah,
that's not a good look now. Not a good look now.
They gave you something like, here you go, Michael, thank you.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing this in the arcade though and thinking, at the time, man, this was a really cool looking game. It had like that. It had like a
isometric view.
Isometric view to it. You would go around. It was like you would just, I don't know how this sounds, but you would just killing enemies with your Michael magic. Just kind of zapping them. The playing it recently, man, the best part to me was when Bubbles would come out.
It's the best. Yeah.
Yo, Bubbles comes out and you become invincible. You turn into that Robo Michael.
It's so bizarre, man. Like Bubbles is on the screen and you go pick up Bubbles and then you turn into a robot. It is complete nonsense.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
You can still tell that MJ funded that thing out of his own pocket.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael Jackson went to them and was like, I want to make a video game based on my real life. And this is what they did. They were like, this is exactly what Michael Jackson's day is like,
It's so weird, man.
I used to love that special move, though, when you just get everybody dancing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You live for these moments. And then when the Genesis came out, one of the launch titles was Michael Jackson Moonwalker.
Yeah.
And completely different game. I mean, people could argue that it's just as, it's a good version of the game, but at the time, this is not even close to an arcade port. Like it just had Michael Jackson. You could still do the dances. Bubbles didn't turn you into a robot though.
Automatic,
which is disappointing.
Points down.
Nah, I think you had to catch flying
saucer or something like that,
like a shooting star or something, and then you would turn into like this big Robo Michael.
Yeah.
But it just, wasn't the same. Like Bubbles would come out, he'd jump on your shoulder, and he'd just be like, point you in a direction, which,
thanks.
Again, I think what happened in real life with him, And, but in this one, you were still shooting your Michael magic. You were still hitting people. But this is one of those games I was talking about before, like stage, like for example, stage 1, you're just like in a building and you're just going up and down the stairs and everything. And they make that into 4 substages for no reason. You know? And it's like, man, like this is a grind. And then you have to find the kids, right? So this is where I really question things, right? Because in the arcade version, the kids are just there. They're just out and about. And he's like, they're like, thank you, Michael. In this one, you have to find them behind doors. They're hiding. But I'm like, no, I think they're hiding from Michael. So if you play the game on the Genesis thinking of these kids hiding from Michael, it actually becomes a horror game. And I think even a little bit better in a way. I don't know.
Oh, man. That's so brutal. It's like Night Trap before Night Trap. And
yes.
Yeah, kind of like a reverse. Oh, man. It's so funny you say this, like your perspective on it, because the first one that I ever played was the Genesis one. And that one was really good. Like, I think it's a really good game.
Yeah.
Which is probably one of the reasons why it's so pricey to get that retro cart for it now, right? But the arcade, and then I saw the arcade version, and I was like, the fuck is this? Isometric and so on. And I didn't give it the time that it deserved because I didn't even play it. I just looked at it and I'm like, whoa, this is way different than what I remember. And I just didn't even look at it. I just wish I had spent just 2 minutes. Dude, the first 2 minutes of that game, like you come out. So on your arcade cabinet, are you able to insert credits?
Yeah.
Because whenever you insert a credit in Moonwalker, he goes like, woo! And you can just like, and you can just make him go, woo, 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 as you put in credits over and over. Oh my God. I can't even
some
hit
Michael
the note
magic all over.
It is, absolutely. So like you put in your credits and like within the first minute, there's this dude and he's in this like Professor X floating contraption and he's just like flying around you. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like this guy,
man.
And then he flies away and he's laughing. And then you fight foot soldiers like from Ninja Turtles. They're wearing purple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Ooh. And then Bubbles came out and my mind exploded. Like, oh, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, man. I'm saying like it was just that era was just like that. Like you would just sometimes you would get a close arcade port. Sometimes you would get a terrible arcade port. And in situations like this, you would get a completely different game.
Yeah.
Same basic premise, completely different game, but still a good game, but just nothing like you thought it was going to be.
This is the problem with expectations, right? When back then with what you had, because like Double Dragon 2 for the NES, right? I played the shit out of Double Dragon 1 in the arcade. Double Dragon 2, however, was a rare bird. Like I could never find it in the arcade. And even the few times that I did, it was just kind of like walking by it, and my dad is like dragging me along, like get away from that.
Yeah.
So I never really got a chance to watch it for more than 30 seconds, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the NES version comes out. I'm not going to say it's a completely different game. It's a beat 'em up, but it is very, very different from the arcade. They're not trying to replicate the arcade game with that NES Double Dragon 2. It is its own thing. And because of that, it's great. It's like the best beat 'em up on the NES, probably.
No.
So that's kind of the tact I think they had to go with back then. Like, on one hand, yeah, we can be disappointed that Moonwalker wasn't the isometric 3D just pile of nonsense that the arcade game was. But like, that's kind of what they had to do, right? In order to fit it on the 16-bit system. Anyway.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But it's just funny to look back on it, man. And yeah, man, like the Genesis version is still good. I look at it now like, damn, this is kind of a little bit of a grind having to look for these kids and stuff. But at the time, you know, like that's all we knew. So we were more than happy to play this game just to get through those 4 stages to get to the next level. Yeah. Because we always wanted to see what the next level looked like. Yeah. So it is what it is, but it's just great to be able to play the Moonwalker. I always wanted to play in the comfort and privacy of my own home because I don't want anybody watching me with Michael Jackson and a joystick. I don't want any part of that. And don't want any part of that. And just being able to actually play the game and finish it, you know, and just kind of see, you know, I mean, it's been a while. It's just nice to not have a crowd behind me waiting to put their quarters in. Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. Well, we've definitely gone a little bit long, and I don't care. It's been a lot of fun, but we're gonna wrap it up now. So everybody, thanks so much for listening. Again, it's the Region Free Gamers podcast. If you want to follow us on Instagram, that's where we do I wouldn't say most of our chatting. We do it on Discord now, but we are at Region Free Gamers podcast on Instagram and at Region Free Gamer on Twitter because of the character limit. As well, patreon.com/Region Free Gamers if you'd like to contribute in that manner and you've enjoyed what you've heard. Otherwise, you know, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. And thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Jay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you guys for inviting me. Really appreciate it.
All right. Take care, everyone. Guadalajara